Kia ora koutou, nā mai haramai to Tribe Group. I am the CEO, Bruce Bulbrow. Welcome to today. I'm new to recruitment, so I don't even know what to ask you as questions. I've hired people before, but it's really great to have you here, meeting some wonderful people as well. So very excited about this event. I mean, I'm excited because Lydia's leading it. She's a marvellous person and it'll be awesome. So just because of you,
thanks.
It'll be awesome. So
no pressure.
We've got Sian here as well. Got it right, didn't I?
Yes.
Beautiful Welsh name. Diana and Fiona as well. So welcome, and it's going to be a great conversation. Enjoy yourself. Welcome to Tribe. Just sort of housekeeping things. If you need to go to the bathroom, it's just straight down here, the door. We'll leave that open, and they're just there. Please just feel free to do that. If there's a fire or anything like that, just chase the person who's running the fastest. Probably going to be me. But you all came in through one door. That's where we go and we meet out there. So just get that out of the way. I'm sure we all know about what Tribe does through the conversation. But welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Thank you, everybody, for joining us bright and early. If you've got young kids like me, I know that's not easy. I was very happy to hand my children over to my mother this morning to do the school juggles, so thank you. Look, I'm Lydia. I've been at Tribe for about 9 years. I am a client director here and work alongside our amazing teams. So if you haven't met them, we've got a number of our incredible team members here, so stick around afterwards and feel free to say hi. Next to me, we've got an incredible talent incredible panel, I should say, who are sharing their thoughts on the future of talent. And the reason why we really like to host these events is we love to bring our community together and have an opportunity to share. So we do want to make this session as interactive as possible. So feel able to ask questions as we go. Otherwise, we have allowed about 10 minutes for questions at the very end. So to my right, I have Fiona. So Fiona is the managing partner of Unboxable. Fiona is a specialist in the future of work. She partners with organisations to navigate AI, rapid change and evolving workforce expectations, helping leaders build future-ready teams and capability. Thanks, Fiona.
Kia ora.
I've got Sian sitting next to Fiona. Sian is the Director of Talent and People Experience at Aura. She is an experienced global people leader who has built teams across 5 continents. She's passionate about creating equitable workplace cultures and helping high-growth organisations scale. So Sian's actually been travelling a fair bit, and so when we organised the state, we lined it up with your travel dates, so appreciate it. And Diana, thanks so much for joining us. Diana is the co-founder and CEO of Mission Ready HQ. Diana is an award-winning entrepreneur focused on making tech careers accessible to all. So again, thank you all for coming. Yeah. I'm going to open up our Q&A. And Diana, I'm actually going to start that with you today. Tell me a bit about, with the tech industry evolving rapidly, how do you think about the future of talent to ensure your students are future ready?
Oh, great question. Yeah. If I could, I'm probably going to reframe that question a little bit. It's really interesting to see where the world is shifting right now. And often we talk about the problem being there isn't enough talent in the workplace, or there isn't enough talent available, but feels like that's shifting, that narrative shifting. What we're really seeing right now is the real problem is that there isn't enough people who are job ready and who can hit the ground running in the fastest way possible. And I guess from my lens, because I wear the education hat here, there's a lot of noise in the market. There's a lot of change that's happening. There's a lot of fear in the market as well. But it's really important for us to acknowledge that while there's noise, we need to look for what is the signal that we need to focus on that's going to help us develop the right level of talent in the workplace. So there are a couple of signals that we keep an eye on is what are employers looking for? What's the shift that's happening in the marketplace? I love data, so I'll throw a little bit of data at you. One is we're seeing a lot of companies definitely wanting to adopt AI. But the common narrative in the market is there isn't enough AI-ready talent in the marketplace. And you'll tell me if this is true or not, or you can challenge me as we go. But the reality is this, that there isn't enough AI-ready talent in the marketplace. The second reality is the fact that in New Zealand, we continue to see an increasing demand for talent in the software dev space, in the data space, in the AI space. However, that shortage is not translating into real jobs right now. So the question that arises for someone like me is, what's really happening to entry-level talent? So while there are all these opportunities that is coming, 170 million new jobs predicted to come out in the next couple of years, but what will be the reality for new people entering the workforce? To top all of that, you've got this extra layer to add, which is AI is augmenting a lot of roles, and the narrative in the marketplace is that nearly 60% of roles or tasks within roles will shift. So what does that mean to future talent? Are we really preparing them for roles? Or is this a new marketplace that we need to prepare them for? So the augmentation we are seeing in roles is a convergence of roles in many ways. So it was interesting. We used to have a period where we were hiring business analysts and UX designers, and now that those roles are converging, somebody can take it from, hey, what's the problem we're trying to solve? What are the requirements? Through to creating a prototype in like seconds or hours. You have the solution that you could be testing. So what does that mean? It means that there's this convergence happening. Now, how do you prepare for this sort of environment where the roles are shifting, the tasks in a particular role are changing, and what you can do and what employers really need is not necessarily people with one set of skill sets, but the capability to expand their learning and to adapt in this marketplace in the fastest way possible. So the way we've been looking at it at Mission Ready is essentially, how do you train somebody in the fastest way possible? How do you add the real experience to it so that they're actually blending their skills so they can go deep when required, but they can also connect the dots and be the human that employers really need. So what is the future of talent in a way? You will still need people with expertise. You still need the human in the loop, and you still need somebody who can connect the dots. And essentially the workplace is shifting in the sense that we need people who can learn fast, who can adapt fast and apply those learnings, because at the end of the day, we as employers, we're looking for people who can add value to the business in the fastest way possible. I'll stop there.
Sian, Fiona, do you have anything to add to that and what you might be seeing within your businesses?
It just rings so true. I really think of it, excuse me, wrong microphone, of like that T-shaped talent. So like, I don't think it's generalists. Like I think that's going too far. Like I think there is this depth of expertise that's still needed, particularly in spaces like AI, right? Where, like you say, there's this shortage of talent, and like we want to adopt these skills that we haven't yet even built ourselves.
Yes.
So that expertise is important, but I think what really becomes important now that we don't, I see this like move away from the specialists and being able to have that kind of human, it's almost like problem framing as well, not just problem solving, because a lot of the technical ability is going to be taken care of by the technology. So it's the actual human, like soft skills, I hate that term, but like that's what it is really, that, gone are the days of that like, brilliant coding engineer who just shuts himself away in their room and codes like incredibly, because now we need so much more out of that person. So it's a real shift. I think like what I'm seeing, it's really interesting to watch what's happening in different markets, because I do think the US is very quick to act.
Yes.
And they probably, the pendulum swung a little bit too far, and they were like, we can cut all these roles and like we don't need the designer anymore, and they're like, oh, actually we do need the human in the process. And like, so we can, by the fact that we're like a little bit like slower to adopt here in New Zealand, we can kind of take some of the learnings that we're seeing from other markets. But yeah, everything that you're saying is very true, and what I'm seeing in my work and kind of how we're thinking about the talent that we need in our business. And like, we really just need to be hiring, like if you're thinking about hiring for the role you've got in front of you, like you're one step behind. It's like that agility and that like adaptability and like learning capacity, like those are really the skills that
Important.
we're looking for at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. And Fiona, this probably segues really nicely into the work that you do at Unboxable. As the future of talent continues to evolve, what trends are you seeing and how are you supporting your clients to make sure that they are thinking about talent and being, I want to say, future fit or future ready?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things in there for me. Is I think we're in a transition phase. So we're still trying to run our businesses, our recruitment processes, our HR practices, even just our broader business in the same way, and put AI over the top. So in essence, we're taking a shitty process and making it slightly less shittier. And so the transformation hasn't happened yet, but it doesn't mean it's not going to. And I think there's a real capability lift and shift for HR teams as much as anything else, because the next iteration or transition into what we're calling the intelligence era is HR teams will play such a pivotal part, because you will fundamentally help design the organisational fabric that exists. So that's operating model, ways of working, behavioural capabilities, but it's not there yet. So I feel like we're in this kind of awkward, are we dating, are we not dating, are we pregnant, are we not pregnant kind of phase. But I think, so my first urging for you as a group, as a collective of HR people, is look up, look out, and keep spotting the trends, because they are coming. It's not hype, it's not noise. To Sian's point, I think we're quite far behind the States. Not all of it will completely replicate in New Zealand. Our organisations are so much smaller, but there are elements that are relevant, and I think understanding what's going to be relevant in this market is really important. It was really interesting, Sian. Oops, sorry. You were talking about generalists, and I think what's really interesting is 2 years ago when I started Unboxable, the concept behind it was I saw that there was this need for different thinking, and so this was kind of the rise of the Unboxables, people who saw outside the box. And I think what's going to be interesting is that deep technical expertise that we've hired for, AI is going to replicate that. So that deep specialty experience is not going to necessarily be as valuable as it is now. So yeah, the rise of the generalist, whatever that phrase is, but people who can operate in dynamic scenarios, think in a dynamic way, and have a mixture of different skills, domains, expertise, they're going to become really valuable. And I think what's interesting right now is because we're in a market where it's tight for the candidate, you are hiring often for people who tick all the 10 boxes. And that's great for now. But I think the next 2 to 3 years, their roles are going to evolve. So be really careful that you're looking beyond the 10 boxes, because actually it's going to need a different way of thinking that's different to now. And the challenge for us all is our businesses are built on stability and rigidity and compliance and governance, but actually that's not going to translate that well. So we're all finding our way. I don't think we can future-proof, because that means we know what the destination is, and none of us know that. But I think you can be way more future fluent in how you're looking at what's coming. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I think it's a really interesting time. We are in a transition, and often when you are anxious or unsure, you lock down, and that's the worst thing we can do as an HR function in this time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Ben's.
Just on that point, how do you like to test that in interview processes with like looking for that dynamic capability or looking at grade of it?
Yeah, I don't think we've quite got the skills yet. Look, you can ask really good questions, but I think where we are right now is we hire based on what people have done, not what they could do. And I think where AI is going to evolve is I think it's going to help much more in predictive patterns. So what are the behavioural patterns? So if you've done X, Y, and Z, that must mean you can probably do this. And so I think we're transitioning the expertise. And look, most of you do way more recruiting than me, but I think getting people to try and work out how are they when things are not clear, can they adapt, can they learn, unlearn, relearn? Like I think, you know, me in my mid-50s, okay, late 50s, is that what's got me here is not necessarily going to get me there. So getting just comfortable that from an ego perspective is really critical as well. So this transition phases, I think we're all finding different ways of intelligence, but actually sticking to what you've done before is definitely not the right response. Yeah, I hope that kind of helps.
Sian and Diana, I wonder if you have anything to add to that in Dinah, maybe from looking at supporting the individuals that come to Mission HQ, and Sian from a recruitment process. And have you pivoted or changed in how you've done a recruitment process?
Yeah, I mean, it's always changing. It's evolving. But I think to that question in particular, like, some of my favorite, like, I'm kind of off the tools these days, but some of my favorite ways of like understanding is kind of asking questions of what people do outside of work. Like, I think their appetite and curiosity for the technology and want to learn. Like, one of the first things that I did when I wanted to get my hands on AI was like, I built myself an app to like teach myself when to water my plants. I was like, okay, like, I need to learn this thing, but like feels a bit high risk in this scenario. So like, let me just play around with Claude Code in my own time in like a problem that I can solve in my household. And I think like when you find people who are just tinkering away to like figure things out, whether it be in the work environment at home, like that just kind of shows that curiosity and appetite for learning. And then I think the other thing is really kind of understanding how people stay on top of trends as well, because what we do typically, I mean, everybody's on a spectrum, right? So you don't want to put people in a box, but particularly in my organization, you know, you see kind of people going one way or the other. They're like freaking out and they're like, I don't know where my job's gonna go, like I don't know what's happening. And then there's other people who are like, this is really like interesting, I'm watching what's going on over there and what's going on over there. And I think like that also can kind of give you a bit of an indication of like where people are at on their journey. So that's something that I tend to kind of hone in on when I'm asking questions.
So looking at it holistically rather than just a CV
like
and
in your role.
achievables.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I also wanted to comment that while we may be moving to a generalist specialist, if you like, environment, that deep expertise does not go away. Because at the end of the day, if you need a human in the loop, they do need to have that deep expertise to point out. So a programmer, for instance, does, or a coder or a software developer does need to know their thing, because otherwise there's no way they can tell when AI gets it wrong. And when you have to do the unbundling of the mess that AI has created, you need those expertise. So I wouldn't devalue what people are bringing to the table, but the fact that, you know, the employers sitting here are actually looking for people who can go beyond that. And to your point around how do you test that somebody is not just good at what they do, but are they doing the right things that will make them successful in the future? That's really the fundamental question is, are they doing things, are they learning fast enough? Are they picking up these skills fast enough? Because looking at a CV, there's no way we can tell whether they're doing any of this, but their portfolio, all of the stuff they've worked on beyond their current storytelling, so to say, and the fact that they can actually tell you that they were able to produce something in 3 days versus, you know, or something that would take 3 months previously to do. Those are signs or signals, is what I say. How do you cut through all the noise and find the signals that prove that they can actually be thrivers in this environment and not just survivors?
Yeah, thank you. To the audience, any questions as we travel through? No?
I think following on from that, the reference check piece, rather than the formulaic ask 6 questions, to your point, Sian, what are examples of when they've really thought outside the box? How curious have they been? And I know some people see reference checks as a bit past, you know, not necessary, and they probably aren't if you're doing the formulaic, but if we're starting to ask and test for different skill sets, there's another data point to try and grab that insight as to how do they think outside the box and you know, be a bit more curious about their role, and that maybe is what they're bringing to.
Definitely. I'm really loving seeing like the way that candidates put this like their skills forward as well, like seeing like they've built a website with like why their skills match our like mission, and like when you see that you're like, okay, this person, like they get it, right? It's like a new way to differentiate yourself rather than the standard CV. But it is also a little bit tricky because when you're used to like the CV format and then all of a sudden it's all over the place, it's like, oh, how do you follow along? But
yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting times, and I think that's certainly why we wanted to host the session. It's to understand and get an idea from three different people, and you're in the same industry, well, more or less in the same industries, but being able to view it differently. So thinking about looking ahead and thinking about the group of people that we have here in the room who are really pivotal to hiring decisions and supporting businesses, how do you think businesses can create a culture of innovation and continuous learning to support their talent strategy within the organisations that they're in? Who would like to go first? Don't all rush in at once.
I can go first.
Great.
So I'm a big fan of breadcrumbs. So I think when I've done culture transformations before, we try and make it this big bang show and posters on the wall and everything else that goes with that. But actually, I talk about people with, you can breadcrumb your way to the future, you can breadcrumb your way to innovation, and it's actually in those small micro moments about how do you make decisions, how do people be comfortable with challenging decisions? How can people bring alternatives? Do we go with what we've always done before, or do we put in an extra question around, is there another way we can think about this? So actually really starting to build that small muscle, that extra question in a meeting or a context or a strategy exploration, going, is there another way that we can solve for this? Is there an alternative? And actually whether or not you go with that is irrelevant, but getting people comfortable with just being more forensic on why are we doing it? Is there a better way? Is there a faster way? Let's not just do things the same. So really getting those small challenging moments can actually build innovation and creativity. I think because I've worked in heavily regulated industries like insurance, it's really hard in those environments because you have a heavy compliance nature, but you can still build in those moments of challenge and critique, that whole review and refine. I think just some of those pieces, they don't sound sexy, but the power of a good question versus the power of a great answer really helps create a great innovative culture in respect to that.
And are you seeing certain industries really challenging how they're doing things or thinking about their talent strategy at the moment that you're working on?
So I'm doing a few sort of kind of future ready strategies for organisations, and it's really easy in sort of a tech or software to have that innovation because you're naturally playing in that space. I think telcos are really leaning into AI, and so there's elements of that they're probably ahead. A lot of other organisations that I'm working with are still just going, we're just rolling out AI and Copilot. So we've got to get beyond that because actually that's where the unlock and the shift is. So I think we're a bit slow to adopt, and I think, like I say again, the HR, you have an opportunity to really start challenging the way that we're thinking about the people agenda, but the people agenda has to connect to the business strategy and the future strategy, and the two are so connected. The amount of sort of stuff you see on LinkedIn or conversations where technology and the future is owned by the CTO or technology with the CEO, and the CPO is nowhere to be seen. And so actually we need a seat at the table, and part of the reason of how you'll get to be a seat at the table is, like Sian's talking about, is being really aware of what's coming, what's the impacts. Because if you're talking about the future of work, you've got to talk about the future of roles, and then you've got to talk about the future of talent and the future of jobs. So it doesn't matter what part of the HR team and practice you sit in, it is fundamentally going to shift. Now, is that 12 months, 18 months, 5 years? We don't know, but you can start building and breadcrumbing your ability to prepare and adapt and respond.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Sian, what about you? What at Aura?
Oh, so many thoughts. I think you can't underestimate the role that psychological safety plays, particularly like in the space that we play in technology, where there is such a huge shift taking place for a lot of our engineering folks and how their roles are evolving. So I think like that's probably been my number one learning, is like it's easy for me to sit there and know the company strategy and know that we're not cutting jobs and know that like we're not at the end of the spectrum where it's like, oh, we can have the same output with way less people, so let's cut them all. But we're like, hey, we can achieve so much more with the people that we've got now. So like, how do we equip them? But like people are, watching what's going on, and they're scared and they're nervous and they don't want to make the wrong move. So I think making sure that I agree with it, like it doesn't need to be this huge, crazy, big thing that scares you into the state of inertia that you don't do anything. Like there does need to be strategy behind it, because there is a level of governance and there needs to be a level of leadership and tool adoption and whatnot. But I think doing things, solving for your own problems first is a way that we can kind of breadcrumb your way to actually that organizational change. But with the layer of like psychological safety there, making sure that people rewarding the curiosity and giving it a go rather than the outcome, because the outcome might not be perfect the first time. It's probably not going to be perfect the first time. I think engaging as leaders as well, and something like my team's a little bit competitive. That's not me coming through at all. But we're kind of we want to lead the company on this. We want to actually show what it can mean to adopt AI and rework the way that we're thinking about our roles. So we built a whole kind of self-service system. We call it PAX. It's quite cute. It's got a name, it's got an identity and everything. And it, rather than paying for Notion AI and Slack AI and all these different AI tools that are tacked onto every tool that you purchase and you work in, we built our own system that could basically search through all of our databases to actually give people the answers. And then when they don't have the right answer, they can submit a ticket. So we built our own ticketing system, because we were looking at these clunky, big old Jira systems. We're oh, this is just not us. And then we have now we have a dashboard and we have analytics, and we can actually see oh, how many of our queries are going to, payroll versus compensation, same thing, but promos, all this different insight that we haven't been able to gain when we have been kind of just working in Slack and Notion and blah, blah, blah. So we kind of took it upon ourselves to okay, we're gonna lead the way. We're gonna show the organization what we can do. Yeah. And that's been quite exciting. We've also done just hackathon days as well, and we're starting to see different orgs within Aura pick that up. So we started with engineering, we've had our CEO on the floor coding, we do AI show and tell every month. So awesome. The first time you build something, it's just you just want to show everyone. You're oh my gosh, look at this app that I built, or look at this Claude skill that I built. Yes. And actually being able to share kind of the ways that we can work so much faster and smarter. And it's been incredible for my team in terms of the candidate experience that we can actually offer, because we're getting rid of all that admin. I feel like I've gone off on a tangent here. I can't even remember what the original question was.
Well, you've tied it in quite nicely with continuous learning and building that in the business.
That's the thing, right? And one of my favorite things, and it's quite small, is just a skill that we built in Claude, which knows which meetings we can book over when we're booking interviews, which just sounds so basic. But there's no tool on the market that can read our calendars and go, hey, actually that one-to-one can be moved, or that internal meeting doesn't happen on a Tuesday, or things like that. Yes. Any ATS that has AI scheduling is going to tell you that the next free slot for these 3 senior leaders across 5 time zones is going to be 3 months from now. Yes. So then the manual going through the calendars and playing calendar Tetris is just gone.
Yeah, amazing. We need that. Sometimes I feel like that's a challenge here at Tribe when we've got a number of different teams and we're trying to all collaborate. So that's
incredible. You've got these incredible HR partners and talent partners who are spending their time playing calendar Tetris. And it's that's not where we add value.
Yeah.
So just being able to eliminate those nitty, gritty admin tasks and be able to kind of elevate where we actually spend our time has just been incredible. So it's always evolving, it's always learning, but I think we're trying to really show that this is how it can be, and
leading from the front.
Yeah.
Across. How do you do that across 5 different time zones? I mean, if you think about, or as a business, you've got teams all over the world, and to your point, calendar Tetris. How do you roll that continuous improvement culture across the organisation?
I don't know.
The world.
That's a great question. I mean, we are by nature we've always been operating. Well, not always. We obviously roll into different markets at different times, but the whole time that I've been there, we've been operating in these different markets. So we've always had this kind of culture of asynchronous collaboration. So we do a lot async. We travel a lot as well, which, is I guess.
Challenging at times.
Yeah, it can be challenging at times, but like as a company, like we're a global company, we build software for retailers. So like some of the biggest retailers in the world, Walmart and whatnot, are our customers. So we have a presence in Australia, New Zealand, North America, and UK and Europe. But our leadership team is in New Zealand, and so we need to have a presence in our other markets as well to make sure that we're there and we're showing up and we're setting the tone. So it does mean like a little bit of travel as well, but making sure that we're kind of keeping that culture alive throughout the business. We also have like we do kind of take our champions from New Zealand quite often and we'll relocate them to our different markets. So we're kind of like take that culture and that culture of innovation with them when they go and really kind of, because I mean it's so different, right? It's so different in the US and what it is in the UK and what it is in Australia and New Zealand. It's fascinating.
No, that makes sense. Which probably segs on quite nicely to our next question. Well, actually, does anybody have a question from the audience? I should put it out there before. No? Okay. That's okay. Save them up for the end. I guess over the past 12 months, what major shifts or trends have you seen in the talent space, and how do you see these? How do you see these will shape the talent acquisition development in the coming years? And Dinah, you might have some thoughts on that, especially with the nature of what you do at Mission. Rudy?
We work with over 300 industry partners, so we often see a lot of the different requirements that are coming into the market, and you're probably much more versed than I am in what you're seeing on the ground as well. But I guess top of mind, the shifts that we are seeing is one that there's a lot of interesting shift away from just looking at credible qualifications as the factor for hiring now. So a lot of the conversation is moving towards what are the skills, how can they demonstrate this actively. So we're hearing that a lot from our employer partners as well. Tell us what kind of projects they've worked on, what are the experience that they can bring to the table. Oh, actually, why don't we just get a team of 10 people working in a company during the mentored work experience that's part of their learning experience. And so the model of hiring is shifting in a good way, I would say, because if you could trial before you hire, wouldn't you rather have that opportunity? And so that's what we are seeing a lot of our partners do, is that they're looking at bringing them on for a 10-week project, and that allows them to experience and give them something really valuable to work on, and you see firsthand how they can deliver on something. And we're talking about people who have never been in tech, right? Being trained pretty fast on the ground and then being placed in companies. It doesn't cost companies anything to do that either. The other shift that I'm seeing is essentially a little bit of the fact that there was a period where we were all going, what can AI do? And I loved Sean's bit around, let's just lead the way and show the teams how it's done, actually. So it's no longer experimentation phase. It really is about expectations now from employers. So if you can't actually use AI in a valuable way and be able to demonstrate that, and to show how you can deliver value in your individual roles, then it's almost like you're on the back foot now. So again, all of our programs have got AI built in a way that not as a module where you just kind of go, here's a bunch of things you need to know in terms of how to use Claude, but it's more about how do you use it day to day in your role so that you're actually driving productivity faster. And if you can tell those narratives and you can show that, we know our candidates can get hired. So very much focused around that. We're seeing that those who can demonstrate and bring that clear expectations of how they can deliver value, they're getting hired. The part where you said, hey, soft skills, I don't like saying it, but I can't tell you how many times the candidates who can communicate, collaborate, frame problems really well, they by far excel in landing roles. So it's very clear that skill set, no matter how much technical expertise you may have, it's still fundamentally the human skill set that makes somebody stand out. So those are probably the key things I would pick up.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Fiona? What are your feelings?
So I have a phrase that says you can't open new doors with old keys. And I think what I've noticed over the last 12 months, particularly from an organisational perspective, which then drills down to talent, is people have rolled out AI and some version of Copilot or whatever it might be, and then gone, pretty cool, I've saved 2 hours this week, I've summarised these meetings, but 12 months on, some people are still stuck there and actually we need to think about this way more intentionally than recording a meeting and getting some meeting notes. So I think there's a real continuum of AI maturity across HR teams and across businesses, and I think this leading the way piece, I think people are, I don't know if they're waiting for permission or waiting for clarity or certainty, but I think we actually have to own our future individually as much as organisationally. So really understanding what is your value, what's your contribution, how can you articulate it, and then how can you be dynamic in the way that you offer your value, I think as a candidate is really important. And actually culturally as organisations, we need to see that. And so what I'm sort of seeing is almost a seed change where people are going, okay, we need to start moving and making this a bit different to what we've done before. So it sounds cliched. I think we're still in a transition phase, but that transition phase can be as slow or as fast as you individually decide, collectively decide, or organisationally decide. So I think for me, the larger the organisations, some of it's actually more complex. So the more nimble you are as an organisation, actually in some ways it'll be easier. So I think it's a really interesting time for a candidate to try and find their value in this new world or changing world. But actually as organisations, how do you find your value in this? So sometimes they will conflict and sometimes they won't be at the same time. So I kind of see that there's an awakening, and actually awakening that we need to do this differently.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. And is there anything that you're thinking about internally to support?
I think there's definitely been a shift over like the last 12 months in terms of how we think about like workforce planning. Like initially, you know, I think a lot, like with a lot of companies, you know, you see, okay, well, you know, what roles don't we need anymore? So like, you know, a role's being requested and it's like, well, do we actually need that position, or like, can AI do that? And so there was actually a point where, I can't remember which company it was, but like in their kind of recruiting, or their workforce planning questionnaire type thing, it was like, can AI do this? Like, but I think that kind of came out, and then lots of companies started like copying that model, but like it's not that binary. Like it's not AI takes over a complete role, it's like AI takes over little bits of different roles. And I think that's kind of how we've evolved our thinking in terms of how we think about what positions we need in the company. I think there are like, there genuinely are, like I, you know, went into workforce planning at the end of last year and I was like, I need a recruiting coordinator. I'm like, I don't need a recruiting coordinator. So there are like roles where it's like, okay, actually like that does eliminate it. But I think it's a lot more about how each role evolves opposed to like, which roles do we not need? And I think that's where we can kind of like, you know, take advantage of the fact that we're a little bit behind the US and go, oh, that didn't work over there. So let's pay attention. A couple of companies that I follow, Zapier, like they're really interesting in terms of like how they look at things. And now it's escaping me. What's the Anthropic? Is that Anthropic? Obviously because they, you know, they are AI, but like it's really interesting kind of frameworks coming out of those companies where I think like if you're looking to sort of like thought leaders in the industry, those are probably a couple who, you know, I would recommend are doing like a better job than some other companies. But yeah, I think it's just constantly evolving, right? I think you're right. It's like it started off as like this kind of like, oh cool, I can, you know, take some meeting notes, and now it's just completely blowing up how we work, and it's going to be so different in 12 months from now as well. So it's like that constant like agility, constant learning. Looking forward to seeing what other companies are doing, I think outside of New Zealand, because they are a lot further ahead than what we hired a senior director of ML and AI. Recently we went to market in New Zealand, Australia and Denver. We ended up hiring in Denver because we just couldn't find the talent in New Zealand that we were looking for. We found like a couple of people in New Zealand who are incredible. And so if you want to follow people in the New Zealand market, Penny Barton, she does a Substack, which is really interesting to follow. Olivia Diet, who is the founder of Empathics. She's incredible. So like there are a few, like there's a couple of little pockets in New Zealand where there's people who you should follow and get amongst, but looking to, you know, the markets where they are a little bit ahead of the game and learning from their mistakes, and then also just, maybe adopting some of the kind of frameworks that will help us avoid some of the mistakes that we're seeing.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting when we work with organisations who have businesses outside of New Zealand to understand, you're right, somebody said to me, it's let them move quickly and fail fast and then we can take the good bits from it. I've been given a 5-minute warning, so to wrap up our session, the last question that I do want to leave the three of you with is, think about the wonderful people in this room also in talent acquisition roles. What would be one piece of advice or one key insight that you would like them to walk away with from this session?
Do you want me to go?
You
Okay.
lead the way.
Like I say, I think start thinking about it as breadcrumbing rather than a mountain to climb, because I think that way it feels way more palatable, but actually allows you to be dynamic as things evolve. I think look up, look out, look in your industry, look out of your industry, look overseas, see what other HR teams are doing, see what non-HR teams are doing, just to understand where the shift is potentially going, I think is really important. I think just coming awake to realise that actually how it's been done for the last 10, 15, 5 years, 12 months, it's going to shift. We don't know the degree of that pace of shift, and that might be determined by your organisation or your industry, but preparing for that shift either within your team or individually, I think is really important. And then I think helping those candidates with that shift is really important as well. Some of them will get there by themselves, others won't. So I think really helping to educate how the market's moving is really helpful. And I guess that's where Tribe comes in potentially as well. So I think for me is we can't always rely on what we've done in the past to get us forward. So just think you can't open new doors with old keys.
I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing, okay.
Or two things.
It's difficult.
More than one.
I know, right? How do you sum it all up? It's such a big topic. I think depending on like what your role is, I think like if you are in more of that kind of HR seat, like I think the big thing that I definitely underestimated going into all of this was like psychological safety and building that psychological safety around innovation and being able to test and trial and fail and like putting those kind of building that culture of like innovation, but doing it in a way where people don't feel like they're, you know, if they're not on the bus, they're off type thing. I think from like a personal standpoint, like just get in there, give it a go. Like you'll be so stoked when you build your first thing. It's so exciting. And just solve your problems first, because then I think that gives you a really good platform. Like as soon as you solve something, and then chances are it's going to solve something for somebody else. Like onboarding has been an incredible one where we've actually been able to like build way more interactive, like interesting onboarding experiences. And then I think from like a talent perspective, it is really like you all say, right? It's like that depth of expertise, but making sure that candidates in the market and yourselves recruiting are looking for that kind of like generalist, like the soft skills, the problem framing, and making sure that people are like spending time on actually developing that skill set, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to like differentiate us from the robots.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and it sounds like it's also doubling down on that human piece, right?
Yeah.
Connection. What about you, Diana?
You are the leaders in the room, so the fact that if you can showcase where the world's going and really be the ones experimenting and starting to showcase what's possible, I think that's just the best place to start with. And I love the breadcrumbs analogy, you know, because even the small bits make a huge difference in an organization. And as employers, I think we hold a lot of responsibility, and we shouldn't take that lightly, because the idea around psychological safety and the ability to help people who are in the workplace to be to be better than where they are right now, that's a huge responsibility to shoulder. And at the same time, fronting it with the kind of leadership that you have is just so valuable to organizations. I hear a lot of narrative in the market around how do we use AI and reduce costs and maybe get rid of people. That's fundamentally the wrong narrative and the wrong way to look at this whole thing. And with your voices in the room, you would help employers and businesses see the real value in people. Because at the end of the day, we serve people and we're here to be with people. And the last thing I want to add is that we have a massive opportunity of not leaving anyone behind. There's a huge experience gap emerging. There's a huge diversity gap emerging. And we will end up leaving our underrepresented and underprivileged people behind. And we cannot afford to lose that lens in all of this. And so it might sound like a social cause to get behind, but the reality is for every business, it's actually a growth strategy. It's actually something that could be super valuable. And if you want to build an innovative culture, no better way to do it than bringing in diverse voices. So just want to leave you with that last piece.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We've got about 5 minutes, time for a couple of questions. Yes, Catherine?
I think it's just to jump off what you were saying was great. What I've been thinking about, and I'm sure a number of us in this room, we are responsible for talent for frontline deskless workers. So a lot of our conversation today, absolutely love it, but it's very much people in front of a laptop. So any insights or trends or thoughts that you might have seen over the recent few months, year, around say retail or healthcare, manufacturing, and how this might play out in some of that space.
Yeah.
I was just going to add, I think the digital literacy piece is sort of building on your point, is going to be really important for those frontline teams. Like giving them access to understanding digital, even if they're not using it necessarily, is going to be a critical component, because otherwise they will get left behind as things automate around them. So I think being conscious about how you can build digital literacy in those teams is really important as much as anything else.
Do you have a question, Bruce?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I've got a comment though. So I was listening to a podcast this morning about that question, and it's doubling down on the service piece. Because people who will buy online, but we're actually, what the point was that we're actually hunters and gatherers. So there is a certain, we want to go into a store, into a place to hunt and gather. So the key part there is that we have an amazing experience. So it's doubling down on that human soft skills, which I think is kind of exciting and cool at the same time.
Andy?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the challenges might be around governance and policy, because at the moment you've probably got rapid adoption, but our policy isn't keeping up with it, and you've got people potentially uploading sensitive data into ChatGPT, and then there's accountability, just forward, put the vulnerability in the code or to the individual, and there's lots of different elements there. I think the challenge will be finding people that can implement relevant compliance and policy that keeps up with it. So I think that's going to be one of the big challenges. And I wondered how you're sort of looking at that alongside the adoption of AI into the business.
We are, I don't know if you'd say lucky, but so our office in the US is in Denver, which is in Colorado, and Colorado has actually got some of the strictest AI regulation and hiring practices coming into play. So again, I think it's like looking ahead and seeing, like, the EU is obviously quite usually one of the first to jump on privacy and regulation. So it's actually quite good seeing kind of what's coming out of Colorado, because a lot of it is reinforcing sort of our philosophy around hiring anyway, which is kind of to your point, right? Like this is our opportunity to actually double down on the things where humans really matter, like that decision making, that assessment piece. We can cut the admin of scheduling and whatnot, but where we can actually really add value as humans and recruiters is that assessment piece. So it hasn't fundamentally changed anything about how we're approaching it as a talent team. But I think my general kind of stance when it comes to this type of thing is look for the most strict regulation you can find, because that's the way it's going probably, unless you're in the US or something. Well, no, that's not true, Colorado. But they're all different because there's all different states and different legislation. It's but yeah, look for the strictest in terms of like regulation. And then, I mean, we're pretty lucky in our team, because we're a tech business, that we do have security teams, and we do have like platform engineering teams who can make sure that we're deploying things safely. And like the tool that we built, PAX, like I mentioned, like our security team tried to break that significantly before we went out. We put it out there, but like that's where I say like it is important you're doing the breadcrumbing, but there does need to be some overarching kind of structure and governance to what you're doing, because it can go bad. And especially if you're trying to create that environment of psychological safety where it's like, you know, we want you to experiment, just making sure you have those guardrails, like experiment, but please don't deploy anything that's not like, you know, on company, like, I don't know, I'm not technical, so I'm gonna use the wrong terms, but like just making sure that there is a level of kind of like those guardrails around what you're doing is really important, and not something that you can unfortunately like bypass. But yeah, it's tricky.
So easy to get it wrong. Like we were looking at Claude and connecting different systems, but sometimes the security just says, if you connect to X system, it gives every team member the access to make any change, and you're like, hang on, we can't just do that. What if somebody just hit a button by mistake? You know, but those guardrails are so important, and especially in small organizations, you don't have the expertise available in-house, and so a lot of what we tend to do, we're a small organization ourselves, we just look for the right system that we would be comfortable using and give our teams the right level of access. Because we can't go too wide too fast, we will definitely kill ourselves in some ways. Yeah. But it's a really important point for leaders to consider in organizations around how much is okay. But we don't have much of a choice, we have to move fast as well. But I do want to also touch on your point around, you know, how do we not leave people behind? There's a lot of, one is, do we know where our organization is going and how these roles might evolve? And as they evolve, can we give the opportunity to our people to step up? That would be the kind of the lens you're wearing right now, I suspect. And then the second part is there is a lot of training and resources available for people to start building the skill set right now and make them ready for what's coming up. And if you do check out Mission Ready, we do have a number of free courses available as well that can help people who are on the front line pick up. It's very accessible. We're trying to make it as easy for anybody, even with basic literacy and numeracy, to be able to access these type of programs. But the idea is that we do want people to be able to step in, get the knowledge they need to be able to keep moving forward.
We probably have time for one more question. I think there was a question from the audience.
It was me, but it was touching on the same thing. It was around security and around privacy and block out businesses.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you. And maybe finishing a tip for HR on something that given those blockers and I mean we've tried to put Microsoft work, so we should co-pilot that and some people can see things so it really is a good one to specifically chat. But maybe a tip on what we can do at HR that's something that people don't have AI businesses, something to start with this breadcrumb.
My first breadcrumb is kind of AI, but not completely AI. And actually, I talked about this last year, which is 2026 is the rise of the workflow. So if I look at my own career, what's kind of ironic is the more senior you get, the further away you get from the work. But actually, the new value will be that you fully understand your processes, your workflow, and then what you should automate and what you shouldn't. So I think understanding where your pain points are, where you spend a lot of time manually or repetitively, is a great place to start. But actually don't go straight to the tool, go to the problem first, but also really understand your processes, and that's where you'll find your opportunity. And if you understand your processes, then you actually are really good about understanding your governance layer in relation to that as well. So as much as it is about design, it's also about assessment and oversight. So whilst that doesn't sound particularly sexy, it's an incredibly important part of making sure that you have successful implementation. But yeah, I would go where the pain is. That's the first place I'd start.
Okay, so I honestly feel like everything, like we've got such an opportunity to really blow candidate experience out of the water now, because we've got so much more time to actually put into the human part of recruiting. So I think, like, my approach with my team is always like, start with something small stakes. Like, don't go for like the biggest, like most, you know, ambitious thing that you can possibly go for, because yeah, particularly when you're introducing new tools and there's governance and it's HR and there's some sensitive stuff, like go for something low stakes, like, you know, building a skill for scheduling or whatnot. But like use it to your advantage and use it to, you know, use it as a way to actually stand out in a market where, you know, there's probably a lot of employers out there who are actually on the spectrum of like, hey, maybe we don't even need recruiters because like we can just automate this whole thing. We can have like a bot interviewing, and this is like but this is like what some people are thinking. And we're like, actually, like what we like, where we add value as humans in that candidate experience can be like so much more. You know, we can have so much more of a high touch process when we have a lot of this kind of admin stuff just taken off our plates. So I think like something really simple that I started doing probably, I don't know how long ago now, but a long time ago now, was actually using AI to give really specific feedback to candidates, like actually using it to look at scorecards of like the candidate who was successful and like how that kind of differentiated from what the candidate who wasn't successful, you know, had done. And rather than just call them up and say, hey, you didn't get the job because we didn't feel like you had X, Y, Z, like you can actually give some really specific examples and help them kind of take that on and go on in their hiring journey. And also with offers as well, you can make offers so much more exciting because you can like pull out like all these interesting insights. Like I just think there's so much that we can do with candidate experience. So it's a super low stakes way to like actually have a really big impact in like how you're hiring and how you're interacting with the people, which is what we do, right?
Yeah, doubling down on the human piece.
Yeah.
Diana, any last words from you?
I'm not an HR expert, but having hired people, and you know, we do have a really lovely HR person who works with us as well. But what I feel it comes down to is trust, credibility, and experience. So that doesn't go away in any market, and what we need to be able to offer our future talent is exactly those three things. And as employers, we often try and balance between budgets and resources, and you know, there's just so many priorities in our life that at the end of the day, we're still serving people. We're here to help people succeed in their lives, and none of that comes without the trust, credibility, and commitment we can bring to people.
Yeah.